Man, here we are once again. How's everybody doing? Lee, how you doing?
I'm fine, thanks, mate. How are you? You all right?
Doing good. Thanks for the music there. That's called "A Forward Momentum" by yours truly.
Yeah,
You, not me. My
me.
his truly
Yeah,
over here.
but his
This guy.
truly.
Yeah, I was saying
You can
you're.
get things wrong, you know. You are allowed
Yeah,
to, mate. You know, just because you're a very
I
literate
thought I was
man.
wrong once, but I was mistaken. So,
Hey, mate, you can't have all the bloody credit, you know.
yeah. That's a good tune on it. Just works for this channel. I love it.
Yeah, it does.
And
Yeah,
when I
it
play
really
those
does.
little videos of the saucer taking the people up and stuff, it fits. It totally fits.
Yeah,
And
yeah. I
lo-
do dig it for this channel. As soon as I've heard it, I thought, yeah, that
it
works.
totally works.
I don't know
So,
what everybody else thinks, but I mean, who cares?
as long as
That's a
we're
joke.
happy
It's
with it,
just a little joke.
yeah, just
Little joke.
pay no
Just to
attention to the,
lighten the load, guys. Lighten the load.
there you go. Poke him right through the screen there and poke him in
Hi,
the ear.
Cathedra.
Let's see. Look in the
Hi,
chat
Ted.
here. We got it here.
Hi, hi, Jubba.
Henry
Justin.
Nelson's here. First
Henry. Right,
audio.
mate.
Who let him in here? Oh, that's you. Ted Branston's here. How's that dog doing, Ted? D-Rock's here.
D Rock's
Jubba's
here.
done.
All right, buddy. How's it going?
Cathedra is
Scotty
in.
Owl. Cathedra. Yeah.
Scott L. Hey there. How you doing, Scott? Good to see you. I thought you were the other Scott, Scott's Life, but that's a different Scott.
That is, yeah. That is a different
What
one.
else we got there? I can't read that. Lori Jean, is that?
I think that is, yeah.
Welcome in. We got some new folks here, looks like. Thanks for coming in.
That's what you call a lot of emojis, that is.
Yeah,
That's emoji central right there.
yeah. No, they're free. They don't cost much, so take all you want. Use all you want.
You
They
know,
love
other channels will start crying about that. Well,
Not
that's
bother
showing
me.
love, isn't it? You know,
Yeah, it's
that's
just
like I haven't got any words. I don't know what words are, but I know how to flick an
here's
emoji.
oh geez. I've got certain ones that I'm partial to, but
Yeah, I
I
do.
like I like the
I use
ones
them all the
cowbell
time.
that I send drop when you're making music of me.
Yeah, yeah. You do love the old cowbell. Yeah, yeah.
Actually, I
Everybody
don't even like
takes the mickey
cowbell.
out
I
of that
like
as a musician.
that's that Saturday Night Live skit. Needs more cowbell.
Yeah,
Slow
yeah.
motion's here. How you doing?
Hello,
Yeah, Lee was in here earlier, and I just
slow.
fired the studio up here. Couldn't see him on camera, and he's talking to me like that. Like, what the hell's wrong with Lee? He's been abducted.
Well,
I hear.
because I had that camera on, didn't I?
Yeah, and then you were talking in some spooky voice. And it's like, what's going on here?
I was. This is the sound of the Mysterons.
I still think you should redo that UFO a little bit where you can get up inside there and peek out the bubble dome, and then put it on a BMX bike or something and get out and ride up and down the high street.
From beyond.
Yeah, we'll put the channel name on there. Be a good promo. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. We're just firing it up here, getting ready to go. Got something special for you tonight. Alien Encounters, the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base connection. Now we're talking about Roswell and Wright-Patterson AFB there in Ohio is where they allegedly took the bodies to initially. Conjecture about where they've been sent to before or after. My camera angles bother me here. Hang on a little bit. Oh, wrong way.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
got to get it right, Mr. Demure.
and he was cutting the. Ready for my close up, Mr. DeMille.
I'm ready for my close up, Mr. Demure. Well, all right. See, I'm not scared. Let's do this.
And had the thumbnail there. That's Major Marcel looking rather embarrassed at a major in the Air Force having to come
I'd
out
see
and
that as
say,
more cheesed off
"Oh,
than embarrassed.
it wasn't a crash saucer. It was these pieces of tinfoil."
Yeah.
But everybody believes that. Stand on your head.
Yeah, just a second. I got to do something a second. Yeah, let's do this a minute.
Yeah, go ahead. Well, he's going to show us the top of his head. And while Lee's doing whatever he's doing, they're going to, look at that. Does that the guy looks mad or embarrassed or something? Now, just the day before, day two, whatever it was, headlines splashed all across military captures, flying saucer, crash saucer. And then they send this guy out there to pose with that.
I told you, that look definitely is like,
He's
are you
like,
taking the actual... It's out of
yeah,
me.
yeah, look at it. And that's,
Or another one. Really? Yeah, that was more of a peed off,
Hey, Paradox Fossils, how you doing?
not happy in the
he's not
slightest, that
happy.
was.
He's kind of pissed and embarrassed, I think, there. But
Yeah, I think all of the
again,
all
this
of
is
the
a
above.
major. He might not have been
exactly.
in the Air Force, but he was a major in whatever branch of the military. And
He
it
was
wasn't a
embarrassed by that
saucer.
as
It
well,
was
and annoyed.
the tinfoil where some lady baked her turkey or something. And
Yeah, and then tried to say it was a weather balloon. It was parts of a weather balloon that had fouled to earth. I mean, like they do. But
the official government identification chart there.
Hey, there you go. Weather balloon. Don't forget about swamp gas. There it is.
Yeah,
Right
the actual weather balloon is swamp gas, but
It's
everything
swamp
else
gas.
got the bat plane, the USS Enterprise.
Yeah.
It's all a weather balloon, except for the weather balloon, and it's swamp gas.
It's all weather balloons. Come on now.
It has to be.
It's easy to explain. I don't know why everybody's so up in arms about these things. I mean,
And let's see if we've got our context warning yet. They usually we haven't got one in yet. Usually, anytime we do something, put something up over here, we get that context warning.
yeah.
Which
so,
it's a Wikipedia statement. So that's
Wikipedia that anybody can jump into and just change. Yeah. So the CIA have been in there saying this is all conspiracy theory. No.
But what we're going to watch today, this is from the National Archives here in the States. It's a WDTN-TV Channel 2, Dayton, Ohio video recording. You can tell it's ripped from a VHS copy. It's an investigative look at the Roswell incident. In it, narrator and producer Carl Day reported on stories of wreckage and alien bodies being shipped to Wright-Patterson Field. He interviewed Kevin Randle and Don Schmitt, authors of The Truth About the UFO Crash at Roswell, and conducted numerous interviews with Air Force personnel, a photoanalysis expert, and numerous others to attempt to determine if there had been a government cover-up, and the cover-ups in quotes.
Yeah. I mean, like I say, why come out the day before saying, "Oh, we've recovered a UFO, a crashed UFO," and the very next day, "Oh no, it was only a weather balloon." Our eyes are lying. Our eyes were lying. The whole thing was, it doesn't matter that there was debris spread across nearly a mile's worth of land, but no, that's what a weather balloon does. That's 30 foot across.
Paradox says it's swamp gas from Uranus. So there you go.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and roll this beautiful bean footage here. Lee and I'll be over at the side nodding appreciatively like we...
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But anyway, let's go ahead and kick this off here.
47 years ago
Hope you
in the
can hear
Mexico
that.
desert. Did a UFO really crash in the middle of the night?
Is that right up?
And if it wasn't a UFO, what was it? And is the government covering up the story of the century? Well, one thing is for sure. There are an awful lot of unanswered questions. And tonight, we're going to try and sort out facts from fiction concerning an alleged alien encounter out in the New Mexico desert. And also its connection to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Plus a few startling evidence pieces that show that the story did not end there. On the morning of July 3rd, Mac Brazel finds some rather unusual wreckage scattered across his property. Whatever happened here in early July of 1947 has permanently linked Dayton, Ohio to Roswell, New Mexico. And it put a sheep rancher in Lincoln County at the center of one of the longest-running controversies in U.S. history. What did Mac Brazel find scattered across his property? Could it have been what the government first said it was, a crashed flying saucer? Wreckage scattered over a large area. Witnesses describing it as lightweight and super strong beams with strange drawings and foil-like material that had a memory.
There were a lot of people that believed that we had something unique. Otherwise, we wouldn't
Walter Haut was the Roswell Army Airfield public information officer, and he was ordered to release the story that the government had indeed recovered a crashed saucer on Brazel's ranch. His friend, intelligence officer Jesse Marcel, was one of the first military men at the debris site.
Jesse had gone out to the ranch with Brazel and picked up a bunch of material and brought it back to the base. That material was flown to General Ramey's office.
And according to other reports, some of it came here to Dayton.
A lot of this material, there were very few people saw. A lot of it was put on trucks out at the site, or covered, taken to the aircraft, and the aircraft flown either to Wright Field or wherever else they may have gone.
That's when the official story was changed. The Army Air Corps said Brazel had found nothing more than a downed weather balloon, and they had pictures to prove it. Intelligence officer Major Jesse Marcel was ordered to pose for pictures with some of the wreckage and told not to talk to the media. If it was a government plan, it worked. The story died.
It was nothing very serious. I think most people took it as an honest mistake made by the people off the base.
For many years, no one in this New Mexico town thought much more about the story until a few of them started comparing notes. Jesse Marcel talked to Walter Haut and admitted he didn't buy that crashed weather balloon story.
He was very, very adamant. What we picked up and brought into the base was not of this earth. You could not change his opinion. This was not of this earth. We don't have the technology to develop anything like this. Materials that were so thin, they were like foil that you could crumple up in your hand, and when you released it, it went back to its original form. Had a memory built in it.
Go ahead and get out of here, and get out of here as fast as you can.
And in a rare interview, mortician Glenn Dennis told me he remembered getting some strange calls from the base mortuary officer around the time of the Brazel discovery.
He called one night. He said, "What's the smallest size hermetically sealed casket that you keep in stock?" And then here again, I said, "Hey, what have you guys got out there?"
Later that day, while on an ambulance run to the base hospital, Dennis saw a strange wreckage in the back of 2 Army ambulances parked outside this emergency room door. And an Army nurse, who was a close friend of his, told him that she had been part of some strange activities going on in the hospital that day.
And what they wanted her to do was write down what they were doing. And on one gurney, there was a crash bag that had 2 small, little, very mutilated bodies. And then on the other gurney, there was a crash bag there that was unzipped, and it had a little body, she said, that was almost complete. It hadn't been mutilated.
She claimed they were doing an autopsy on that one, a body that was not like anything she had ever seen before. She described some very unusual features that were not human.
It only had 4 fingers, and on the tips of it were little pads, and then it looked like very small, minute little suction cups. And they described the arm as much larger here from the human, and a very short joint up here, and the head was very large. The eyes were very sunken in.
But what were they? Dennis was told by a high-ranking military officer that they were indeed something special.
He said the bodies were definitely aliens.
All right, so what did Mac Brazel really find out in the desert? The weather balloon doesn't carry passengers, and it wasn't all that secret. And where did the bodies come from? What about those reports as well that both wreckage and alien bodies were shipped to Wright-Pat? Well, coming up, we'll try and track down exactly what was and was not shipped here, and why the Roswell case is still under the microscope after all these years. Plus, we're going to find out what the Air Force has to say on this possible alien encounter. Again, it's started attracting real attention around 1979, when some well-established researchers, including Stan Friedman, Bill Moore, Kevin Randle, and Don Schmitt, started to dig into the story. Witnesses talking about another crash site miles from the Brazel Ranch and alien bodies. Also, rumors of a Wright-Pat connection grew. This teletype from the FBI office in Dallas to the one in Cincinnati mentions a disc and balloon being sent to Wright Field for examination. And Army Air Corps pilot Pappy Henderson admits that he flew wreckage of a crashed saucer from Roswell to Dayton, and he tells a friend that he saw alien bodies.
The question is today, 1994, where is the material? Where are the bodies? Certainly unique specimens would have been preserved.
Authors and researchers Kevin Randle and Don Schmitt have just released the latest book on the Roswell case. And they told me witnesses have shed even more light on the story.
We've talked to both civilians and military who were there.
We have over 50 sworn affidavits all attesting to personal involvement in this case.
And more than one witness has mentioned government cover-up.
The Provost Marshal Edwin Easley now, who mentioned over and over again that I'm still sworn to secrecy, yet before he died, he acknowledged his involvement, the bodies, and that the President, whether personally or indirectly, had asked them to cooperate and never to say a word about this.
And about that Wright-Pat connection?
We have first-hand testimony that there were two separate body flights that went out early morning of July 6th, sometime between 2 and 3 in the morning. That there were two flights, one went on to Andrews Air Force Base in Washington, D.C. And we can only imagine who may have been interested in possibly seeing the contents within the bomb bay. And the other flight went on to Wright Field.
All right, some amazing allegations as to what might have been shipped to Wright-Pat following the crash at Roswell. Well, recently we went on base to try and find some evidence to back up the witness statements and also try and prove or disprove the allegations and also some long-standing rumors. We got some answers and a few surprises. This is Area B at Wright-Pat, and behind me a cluster of buildings and hangars. Now, most of the old rumors were that the bodies and wreckage were kept in Hangar 18. Well, first of all, there never was a Hangar 18. There is a Building 18. But it's home to Wright Lab, and it never has been home to Foreign Technology Division, which is the division that you would have expected to have been in charge of the wreckage and the bodies. We checked base civil engineering maps that show everything above and underground, and those rumored secret underground storage vaults and tunnels just don't show up. But a recent article in Far Out magazine claims Building 620, that's the avionics lab up on the hill, has access to secret vaults through a tunnel under the auditorium. So, using the map in the magazine, we found a tunnel. And here it is. Sources confirm it's the only tunnel under that building. We found no vaults of any kind, plus the building wasn't built until the mid-60s. So, what happened to the wreckage from Roswell? Well, the Air Force agreed for the first time to talk about it. In an exclusive one-on-one interview with a man who heads this sprawling complex known as the Air Force Foreign Aerospace Science and Technology Center, we got some surprising answers. The obvious first question, were alien bodies and wreckage recovered from a crash at Roswell, and were they brought to Wright-Pat?
We've extensively researched that, kind of hoping that we might find after all these years that really there was some thread of truth, and we've had no success at all. And I know today there are no such vehicles or bodies on the base.
If they were. If we're to believe that Roswell was nothing more than a weather balloon crash, why would it have been brought here in the first place?
If it was easily identified as a weather balloon, probably it wouldn't have been. If it were a foreign weather balloon, it may have been. If it were unidentified, it would be brought here because, in fact, that is our job, to look at technology and technological advances in any sense.
Well, that seemed to be a pretty good argument that it was not an everyday weather balloon. And if it wasn't alien bodies in a UFO, what was it?
Extensive research here, we found just no indication at all of any kind of incident at Roswell. I mean, we have nothing on record for that investigation.
But we did learn that there was a Roswell file in one base office. Meet Colonel Hector Quintanilla. He was the last director of the Air Force's Project Blue Book.
There was a folder.
Okay.
A folder about as big as this, with newspaper accounts of what transpired out at the ranch or wherever it was. but there was no formal correspondence that I could find with regards to Roswell.
He told me Blue Book's evaluation of the case was it was nothing more than a balloon, and that's the end of it. But interestingly enough, a search of other Air Force documents failed to turn up any reference to Roswell in any form.
We can't find an advantage to keeping such a thing a secret. We think that probably what happened is that there wasn't anything significant from the Roswell incident, if in fact it was evaluated here. Consequently, if there was either no report or the report was of no significance, so it was destroyed.
And he added, nothing like aliens or a UFO could have arrived at Wright-Pat without somebody knowing about it and eventually talking.
Almost impossible to keep something that fantastic a secret, specifically within the intelligence community, and particularly from the organization that's supposed to evaluate that sort of thing.
Secret. We've heard that word a lot tonight. Well, coming up, we've got some new evidence that may well explain what at least some of that wreckage from Roswell really was, and why it came here, and why the government chose to keep it a secret. We'll be back. The official story was nothing more than a weather balloon that crashed near Roswell, New Mexico back in July of '47. And there are as many theories as there are UFO investigators, but every one of them agrees on one fact. Something unusual crashed right here on Mac Brazel's ranch near Corona, and the government covered it up. And they also claim more wreckage and bodies were found at other locations. First site mentioned near the plains of St. Augustine. That was way over in this area. And the most recent site, Randle and Schmitt's brand new theory, is closer to Roswell, probably about this area. Well, we've uncovered a pretty good explanation for at least one crash, the one on Brazel's property. If you look at Mac Brazel's original description of what he found on his ranch, lightweight beams with strange purple markings that resembled flowers and foil-like material that kept its shape, our investigation found that that matches the type of materials used in a top-secret high-altitude spy project known as Mogul. It was far different in materials and mission from any common weather balloon. Now, let me show you the difference. Coming up is a drawing of a Mogul weather balloon, one of the configurations. A lot of balloons, suspended pieces down here, exotic materials, and from top to bottom, it stretched over 600 feet. And it was designed to spy on the Russians to keep track of their nuclear tests. And it had an above top-secret project clearance. Now, Mogul project manager Professor Charlie Moore told me it was not uncommon for that giant Mogul balloon to be mistaken for a UFO. When Moore and his Mogul team learned of the flap over the Roswell incident, he said they laughed, but they kept quiet about their project. Moore identified the wreckage in the Jesse Marcel picture as a Mogul ML-307B that had been launched from Alamogordo, New Mexico. He confirmed a crash would have spread wreckage over a large area. And why wouldn't anyone have recognized it? Well, Moore said no one around Roswell had ever seen one. Moore was even cleared to know about Mogul flights. And that's probably why the wreckage was sent to Wright-Pat. Now, there's one more twist that tends to back up the Mogul theory. The former top man with Project Mogul, Colonel Marcellus Duffy, was at Wright-Pat when the Roswell wreckage arrived. He recognized it, but that story never got out. According to another former Mogul officer, retired Air Force Colonel Albert Trukowski, Colonel Duffy could not talk about it because of the secrecy. So, if it was a giant Mogul spy in the sky that went down on Brazel's ranch, something else must have crashed nearby, something with small passengers. Mogul officials can't explain that. Well, more than a few witnesses claim they saw bodies. Like a man identified as a former Air Force physician who related what an intelligence officer told him about strange bodies and a Wright-Pat connection.
The beings on that spacecraft, he relates, were not anything that he could identify from our planet. They did not appear like any human being he'd ever see, but they were obviously not anything else. They obviously were living human beings, and some of them were injured, most of them were dead. They were taken by he and a number of other individuals to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base at that particular point in time, and he said they were put there for later evaluation, identification, examination by the Air Force and by the military.
Now, when we come back, Possibly the first physical evidence that more than just wreckage from a top-secret project came to Wright-Patt. Plus some pictures that could prove UFOs are real.
Well, we've had great photographic proof for years. Question is the resistance to accepting it as being proof.
Brown Hospital on the grounds of the VA Medical Center in Dayton. And up until a few years ago, it was a very active hospital. And on the 3rd floor of this building, there was the dental lab. In that lab, a dental technician. We'll call him Jack Schmitt. And as Jack told the story to Len Stringfield, it was on a Thursday. He remembers the day quite well because Thursdays were normally very quiet days here at the VA Medical Center. And 2 men he identified as officers from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base brought him a model, an impression of a lower jawbone. They wanted a working model made. He was to keep no records, and the mold he created to make the model was broken and thrown in the trash.
Hello? What's going on there? Steve frozen out. I think he has, hasn't he? Yeah, maybe he has. Yeah. Well, I'm sure we'll get back to the video when he gets back in. In the meantime, here's a word from our sponsors that we haven't got. It's a crazy story, though, isn't it? It's one of the most well-known ones is the Roswell case. But the whole weather balloon thing just makes me laugh. It's just ridiculous. You know, like saying the swamp gas thing. It's just as ridiculous and ludicrous. That they, of course they wouldn't want to publicise it, but once the Pandora's box was opened, it's a stupid thing to try and close it the very next day. You know. And basically saying that people with eyes can't see properly, it can't identify something, you know. But I've always had a problem with the Roswell story. That's the first one that really made me look up and think, what? You know, it's crazy, isn't it? It's like the four finger thing. They always say that, you know, you can't build anything unless you've got opposable thumbs. But I mean, maybe that drawing was a bit skew as well. Maybe they have 4 fingers, you know, but they're usable. They're more usable and maybe turn differently to ours. You know, what's happened to the video, Steve?
Yeah, the aliens took out my internet, so let me load it back up here and we'll finish watching it. Of all the inopportune times for it to...
Did you know where we were when it cut off?
I have a good idea. I noticed getting the spinning circle. I blame it on the aliens.
Exactly. Yeah. Why not opposable fingers? I mean, look, it just because our fingers bend like that and only like that, how do we know that something else can't bend them in other ways? I mean, you know, it's not ridiculous to think that. I mean, look at an octopus, the way it can use its limbs. You know, it's just muscle. You know, not everything has to be, you know, has to have a skeletal structure. So, yeah, you know, and something alien.
So it was the weather balloon. It was the weather balloon. It was a top secret weather balloon that nobody knew about. But yet they just had, I don't buy it.
Yeah.
I don't buy it for a minute.
Nor do I. It's just ridiculous anyway. If you ask me, it's just ridiculous to even suggest such a thing. That basically saying that, you know, someone... I'm sure to say that if something crashed and I looked at it and, you know, I'm just an everyday guy and I looked at it, if it was that unusual, I think I'd notice that it was that unusual. You know, I'd like to say that I'd recognise something that was probably man-made and unusual, or something that's just out of this world unusual. You know, because there's certain traits that we have, you know, in our technologies and other things we build that we'd recognise, you know, and in them days it'd probably be even more easy because it was even more simple. So you'd have recognised immediately if it was far in advance of anything, you know. I mean, you think they were using Bakelite back then.
Yeah.
You know, there was no plastics; it was Bakelite.
And the sort of memory foil and stuff, that's only a recent invention where you have metals that you can heat and bend into a shape, and then when they cool, they retain their go back to their original shape.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So again, I'm not buying
those metals weren't, those alloys weren't around, and why would someone mistake a bit of tin foil kind of thing?
Yeah.
For, you know, a bit of aluminium foil, which I don't think even were they making Baco foil back then? Were they making aluminium foil back then?
Wouldn't there have been more stuff than just whatever that covering was? Wouldn't there have been instruments and things? And if it was spying on stuff, there would be radio transmitters and who knows what else. No mention ever of that.
No mention of technology stuff. Only mentions of materials. So, but then the bodies as well. I mean, how do you explain the bodies and them trying to say, I know there was one story trying to say it was crash test dummies and crap like that.
Yeah, just why would they take them to?
Why would they put them in a weather balloon?
Yeah, and then again, once it crashed, why would they get the coroner, the mortician?
Yeah, exactly. Why would they order coffins?
Yeah,
you know, there's too many inconsistencies. There's too many inconsistencies, and I've always been on the side of they've covered something up.
Yeah.
So. And I just think it was too far-reaching for them in them days to allow the public to know. But it was too late. They'd already opened Pandora's box, like I said. You can't put the lid back on Pandora's box once you've opened it, and that's what they tried to do the very next bloody day by giving out the crap story of the weather balloon thing.
We were mistaken. It was a weather balloon. Well, maybe it was one of those mogul weather balloons, and a saucer flew into it and got all tangled up, and it all crashed to the ground.
Maybe there was debris of both things.
And you know, they keep saying, "Oh, well, there's nothing at Roswell," but that wasn't the only place. And that one guy said there was like 3 or 4 different crash sites right around that area. So it wasn't at Roswell; it was at the other place. But you don't ever hear any mention of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me go ahead and put this back up here and zoom ahead. They were talking about the dentist and the dental impressions. Yeah, let's get past this.
Yeah, they've done those high altitude tests with dummies before and stuff like that. Of course they have, but they wouldn't do it with a weather balloon. It's a weather balloon.
Beings on that spacecraft, he relates, were
yeah, well, we're going to have a little bit of overlap here, but we'll watch from there. It's just less aggravation.
Let's just hope. Are you wired in your internet?
They obviously were living human beings.
No, it's the main router's wired in, but I'm running off Wi-Fi. I probably need to run a cable. But if I had a Cat 5 cable or Cat 6, I'd trip over it every time I walked in and out of here. I'm clumsy.
Need to plumb one in, buddy.
Yeah, I'm just renting here, so.
Now, when we come back, possibly the first physical evidence that more than just wreckage from a top-secret project.
Coming back up on the part about the dental impressions and stuff. And again, they're going to make dental impressions of a crash test dummy. I don't even think they have teeth.
It's like that. Why, like you said, why would they call in a coroner
proof for years.
For a weather balloon?
The question is the resistance to accepting it as being proof.
Brown Hospital on the grounds of the VA Medical Center in Dayton. And up until a few years ago, it was a very active hospital. And on the 3rd floor of this building, there was the dental lab.
It's dropped out again, isn't it? Oh dear. Dear, oh dear. You should send me the video, mate. I'll do it.
An impression of a lower jawbone.
Oh.
They wanted a working model made.
You cut out a little bit then as well again, Steve.
And the mold he created to make the model was broken and thrown in the trash as the Air Force officers
You cut out again then and it froze again.
Smith retrieved the broken mold pieces and put them back together at home. And he made his own model.
Is it working now?
He said he knew this just wasn't human. Few have ever seen it, and those that have can't identify it. An article in Len Stringfield's new book quotes certified dental technician Bruce Phillips as saying it's not like anything he'd come across in his 20 years in the business. The teeth are flat, no cutting surfaces. The shape of the jaw is different from humans, and the arch is much deeper. If it isn't identifiable as animal or human by people who should know, what is it? Could this finally be the
Even if they
first
did do
hard
high
evidence
altitude
the
tests
Air
with
Force was
dummies and
indeed
stuff,
doing
I think
tests on
someone would
alien
notice the
bodies
difference
out of
between
Wright-Patterson?
dummies and actual beings.
Jack Schmitt says the jawbone model was made in 1979. And if you compare the shape of the jaw in the model with the shape of the jaw in this computer drawing of an alien, it's almost a perfect match. Some sources claim the drawing was part of a government UFO briefing in 1978, same time frame, and was based on photos from Wright-Patterson.
Now, the Air Force tells us they have no records of any alien picture or the briefing. No comments yet on the jawbone. For believers, this is more evidence that something is going on, and the government really doesn't want to talk about it. But are models and pictures enough to finally prove that UFOs and aliens are real?
Well, we've had great photographic proof for years. Question is the resistance to accepting it as being proof.
Dr. Bruce Maccabee is one of the most respected experts in the field of photoanalysis. And Bruce says some pictures taken near Gulf Breeze, Florida back in January by Ed Walters would have been pretty tough to fake. The first picture shows an unidentified object with an F-15 closing in. The next shows the plane flying by the object.
Here you have a situation where the airplane actually got in between the camera and the object.
Walters claims the plane made a U-turn and the object flew away at high speed. Maccabee showed me videos of other sightings around Gulf Breeze at around the same time, and they were ones that were hard, if not impossible, to explain.
Skeptics have often said, you know, if this stuff were real, you would have photos and videos. What can I say?
Now you've got photos and videos.
Now you've got photos and videos.
It's interesting to note the Air Force has never said that UFOs don't exist. Was this a break in a curtain of secrecy surrounding the real UFO story? Has the government really been covering up the story of the century? It all comes down to what you believe. And as in the past, it remains the controversy that won't die. And whether the evidence connecting Wright-Pat to the UFO phenomena is accurate or not, the base is forever a part of that legend. I'm Carl Day.
Yeah, I'm just not buying the whole weather balloon thing. I'm never going to buy the
Don't
weather
buy
balloon thing.
the official explanation.
Absolute BS.
And leave that music there. They're playing that's reminiscent of some of your stuff there. I kind of like that.
A little bit. Yeah,
But, sorry for
I'm
the...
I'm never going to be on the side of the government.
Yeah,
Start number one.
What, the government lied to us? Surely you jest.
Yeah, well, what? They told us it's a weather balloon when it's not. Well, yeah, whatever. Yeah, just
sorry
just
for
no.
the interruption there in the internet. I will upload the video that I was playing there to the channel so you can go back and watch it in its entirety. And there's more in that series. We'll be visiting those in the coming weeks.
Yeah. Like I say, it's one of them stories that you're always going to have people arguing about it, you know, and that's the thing, and that's what they want. They don't want you all being on the same path with any of these stories. They want you all bickering and arguing about it, because whilst you're bickering and arguing about it, they're off busy doing other things.
There's a lot of doublespeak, and they say stuff without really saying anything at all. They're good at that. They're like politicians, the military intelligence and other oxymorons like that.
Well, it's
about no shade on anybody in the military. I mean, if they was a cover up, it was for a reason. At least they thought it was a valid reason to not talk about it.
And that's fair. That's fair enough. But at the same time, but like I said, while everybody's bickering about this and that, about the tiniest, stupidest details, you know, it's ridiculous. Something happened there. They released it and then they retracted it. that's the simplest thing of it.
And like you said, they'd already let the genie out of the bottle, or already opened Pandora's box there. It's like trying to put toothpaste back in the tube. It ain't going to happen.
It's not going to happen. Exactly. Divide and conquer. Yeah. I've said this about every single case, that they 1 minute it's like all this crap. Oh, Project Blue Book. Oh, we were dealing with it. Project Blue Book. Distraction, so that you think that they're doing something about it. Same as all this government crap that they've been doing now, talking about it in Congress, and they're going through this. That's just to appease people, to shut you up. That is not a disclosure thing. Disclosure's already happened, didn't it? You know, in its own way. It's just that people now don't believe anything they're told, because there's graphics and there's photoshopping and all these things that people can do to fool people. And because you even if there's someone stood right in front of you talking to an alien now, you're going to think it's graphics. You're not going to think it's real at all.
Yeah, if a saucer landed on the White House lawn and they got out and made selfies with the president, nobody would believe it. Oh, it's AI.
Yeah.
It's
a deep fake.
Hologram.
It's a deep fake.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
So I don't buy the weather balloon theory, or like I said earlier, if it was a weather balloon, then it took down the saucer. The saucer got tangled in the weather balloon or something, and the whole thing came down. So
there's definitely something more to it. And like I said, if it was just a weather balloon, why all this cover up bullshit anyway? Why throw all these other things out there and then keep changing it and then keep
like
changing
it? Was a secret. We were spying on the Russians. They spied on us. Everybody spied on everybody.
Everybody knew that anyway. Everybody knew there was spying going on. You know, it was the age of spying, wasn't it? You know, so really there was no secrets, even though they thought they were being secretive. They're not really. You know.
And really, I mean, it's not a secret. People know about it. People talk about it. They don't know what it is definitively, but there was something. And even if it was some kind of mogul weather balloon, which I don't know, sounds like something they made up as a cover-up, or something they had, but that wasn't it. Again, a lot of misdirection, classic stage magician, you know, and watch this hand, but don't look at this hand down here that's sneaking something out of my pocket.
Yeah, like I said, there's definitely something other than what they tell us anyway. Because like I said, if it wasn't, if it was nothing, if there's nothing to see here, why the big hoo-ha about it? Yeah. Why the retraction, and why the big post in the newspaper posted with a couple of little bits of tiny little amounts of debris? Now these weather balloons, spy balloons or whatever, they're huge. They're huge. There'd have been a little bit more debris than that crap that they had there on the floor.
And if it was just a weather balloon, why would they need trucks, plural?
Why would they need plural trucks?
I mean, you've got
why would there be a mile's worth of debris? Exactly. Yeah, why would there be a mile's worth of debris, and that they'd comb all that every inch?
I don't buy it. There's, as Paul Harvey would say, there's more to the story, or the rest of the story, but that's what we're not being told. At least not yet, if ever.
Now they'll never disclose it, mate.
Yeah, and well, because then if they did, okay, yeah, we told everybody this and it was actually that, then they have absolutely no credibility, which they basically don't anyway, and it would be even maybe a negative credibility at that point.
Yeah, like I said, it's the whole thing stinks to me. The whole thing stinks. Yeah. And it's the same with all the stories that come out, and then you hear 50,000 different stories of debunking, right? And you know, and the story grows and it gets over.
And then you have people who debunk the debunkers, and nobody can agree on anything.
And then everybody's a bloody authority on every single aspect of it, like this. Everybody's an authority on it.
The way the internet is. You should see some of the comments I get on my videos over there that don't make it. I've got certain words that are filtered out, but yeah, I've got a whole lot of experts on a whole lot of different things that apparently have nothing better to do than sit and scroll through videos and point out all the mistakes.
Yeah, mate.
It's like when you get people coming to your channel and tell you how to compose your music. Oh, you should do
Yeah.
this and you should do that. And no, in Ableton, you should do this.
Oh no,
instead of
the great one was when I had that weird glitch thing going on, and it had nothing to do with the program or the PC or nothing. It was something to do with the link between, obviously, YouTube and StreamYard, and by resetting it all, it sorted out the problem. Now I had that happen to me twice, right? And yet someone insisted that I wasn't listening to them. That what I should do is go and search the internet and go to this particular site and follow their instructions to do this and to do that, when all it was a glitch. You know, glitches happen. You know,
glitch
I've had
happens.
these things with all programs that I've ever used. There's always just been some reason that something goes weird with it.
That's
and
just the
you're
nature
like,
of the
what is
beast.
it? And you just shut it down, you reload it back up, and again, look, not a problem. It's like the old turn it off. If you try turn it off and on again.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
90% of the time
Always
that'll
start
work. I
simply.
used to do tech support. That's the first question. Have you turned
It's
it
the
off?
first
Have
thing you do
reboot it,
with
turn it off, and back on?
anything to do with computing. The first thing you do is switch it off, switch it back on again.
And
Shut
like
it down.
your MIDI stuff there, you get a stuck note in there. Sometimes that should not happen. Yet it happens all
And
the
yet it
time with
happens.
MIDI devices.
Exactly. And what you do is you go to that channel, you re-enter the channel, you put your foot on the sustain pedal, mate, and it goes. And you turn the channel off again. You know?
Yeah. Well, we had some good comments here. There was some I meant to starve, but I didn't because I was wrestling with my internet here. But and I think people pretty much agree that it wasn't just a weather balloon. And if it was, then why all the hoopla? And I don't think anybody in the military in particular are going to mistake a weather balloon for a craft from another dimension. Or
I mean,
outer
like I said,
space or
the
whatever.
guy,
And weather balloons are
majors-
unpiloted. They don't have people on them. Even what do they have? Small statured people that they let ride in the weather balloon to control? No, that's
Yeah, it's like the
guys
old
with
thing
four
saying that they
fingers and
use
weird
cadavers.
teeth. Like, here.
It's like I'm saying they use cadavers for experiments and stuff. Yeah, right. But don't you think when they land they're going to splat?
Yeah.
So why would you know?
And people would be able to identify a human cadaver. I mean, even
Yeah,
there are plane
exactly.
crashes and stuff.
Even in bits, you'd be able
and
to
these
identify human
horrific
body
plane
parts.
crashes. You can pick out human body parts and things. That Southern California crash from years and years ago, where it crashed in a residential neighborhood, San Diego, I think. There was arms and legs and fingers and things on the street, on people's rooftops, things like that. But nobody said, "Hey, this is real people." It's human body parts are recognizable. And unless they had an inbred family from somewhere that only had four fingers and a weird jaw and flat teeth, and hey, you want to go for a ride in a weather balloon?
Either that, or they were genetically manipulating and changing them. But I mean, that was back in the 40s. I don't know how advanced. Don't know how advanced
I don't
things
think
like
we were advanced that point. Cloning or,
I mean, maybe nowadays if they started augmenting human beings to look completely different. I mean, you've got loads of people that have dermal implants and have their eyes coloured black and all sorts of things now. So,
yeah, you can have your eyeball tattooed or ink.
Tattooed black. That's what I said. Yeah, you could have it tattooed
That's
black.
crazy.
You can have, and then you could.
You got the guys that put the bumps on their head that look like they've got
that's
horns.
dermal
and stuff.
implants.
Dermal
That's what
yeah.
I said. Dermal implants, and they've got them all over their head. And someone even looks like a bloody a lizard, literally. There's another person that looks like a cat. He
had his lips split. He had whiskers put in there. That looked. I think he ended up opting out, but he had some issues, I think.
Mate, mental issues or what? If that's not mental illness, I don't know what is, mate. But
the human puzzle, I don't remember. He was in the Jim Rose Circus sideshow, but the guy that tattooed his entire body to look like puzzle pieces.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, there's some nutty things out there, and the thing is, imagine the scenario where they kidnap kids, right? And the children, all these children that go missing and stuff, as you know very well know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how do we know that some clandestine group doesn't take those children as young babies or whatever and manipulate them as they grow older?
That's a
and
possibility.
completely brainwash them into thinking that there's something that they're not even. Yeah, you know what I mean? That they had to even convince them they're not part of the human race and stuff. You know. And I don't think that's far fetched. I mean, especially with genetics and the things that they can do, they could fool people into thinking there's aliens when there's not even aliens. You know, this is the whole thing, and that's why I said you're never going to believe. You can't believe everything.
Yeah,
That's
the
why
Human
it's
Genome
hard.
Project, so where they sequence the entire DNA, and now they can go in and make changes to that. So
Well, and
if
not only
they
that,
can do
I
that
mean,
on
they
a
can grow body
university
parts.
level.
They can
Yeah.
grow body parts as well in a
Because,
solution.
I read about some guy that had his ear cut off, and they grew him a new
They grew
one.
a new one on a
and
mouse.
that, and then sewed it on his head.
Yeah, but they grew one on a mouse as well, didn't they? They grew
there's a
someone's
picture
ear
of
on a mouse.
With a human ear, human-looking ear on its back.
Yeah,
So,
and then they cut it off and transplanted it onto the man. Crazy stuff. Like I said, if that's what they do, and you're aware of it, and you're as general public, we're allowed to know about that. Imagine what they can do.
Imagine what they do that they don't
undercover. You know,
Yeah.
in a clandestine environment. You know, and you don't know what these multi-billionaires are capable of, mate. I mean, they're insane. These people. You know. They're insane, and once you've got more money than sense, and there's nothing else to do, you can have anything you want. There's nothing to want, so the only other thing left is to do some strange stuff, you know, to push boundaries where you shouldn't be pushing boundaries, you know.
Yep. And people, as I say, that have more money than sense, like the guys in the tiny sub that wanted the Titanic experience, and they got it, but not in the way they planned.
They got it right, mate, but they got crushed.
Because
mate didn't even know how to build a submarine properly to even handle the pressures.
Said, we didn't want a bunch of older, experienced people here. We wanted young blood, 20 years old, 20-year-olds. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it with a controller.
Yeah, they had a PS
absolute
PlayStation
idiots.
Controller that they control the sub with.
Idiots, absolute idiots.
Sorry, I don't want to laugh at people's misfortune.
No,
but they kind of brought that
it's
on
not.
themselves.
But the rich people were naive. They were very naive to look at that thing and think it was safe. I mean, geez, really? Have you seen what an actual submarine, the marine biologist submarines that they have?
Yeah,
they're basically
the military submarines. They're shielded.
They're massive, and you've got the tiniest amount of space in them because they're so thick. You know, the materials are so thick, and the caging is so thick. Yeah. It's immensely heavy as well.
Have nuclear submarines, because it works great. For a sub, you couldn't use that in an aircraft because they have to be light. But you can have nuclear-powered submarines because of the shielding and because they're underwater. You know, those are steel plates on there or whatever they're.
Yeah, and they're about 25 inches thick or something.
Yeah.
You know, if not more. It's just crazy to think that you could take that to go down a couple of miles or whatever to see a ship that's on the bottom of the ocean.
Imagine what the pressure's like. You get that far underwater, and they get it, flattened it like a tin can, and they expended all that time and energy trying to look for it, but there was nothing left to find.
No, because it imploded. That would have it would have imploded.
Yeah,
you know, it literally just got
no survivors.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a sad thing.
No.
Of course it's sad. But
I was talking to Adam Sane from Conspiranormal. He's my guest on the radio show coming up this week.
Yeah.
And we're talking about really, really deep ocean stuff, Mariana Trench and some of that stuff. Imagine what those creatures are like down there.
Exactly. And they're alive.
And miles and miles
they
of
have
pressure.
the skeleton, they have the structure that can survive that pressure. I mean, just the things that you see down at the bottom of the ocean as it is, on a couple of miles down. It's like
decided to come out on land, they'd have like superpowers and things.
Super strength.
We're talking HP Lovecraft type stuff, like Cthulhu probably lives in the ocean.
Yeah, yeah. If it come out of the ocean, yeah, exactly, and it can go down that far, it'd be super, super strong. You wouldn't be able to kill it very easily.
So fear what's under the water and what's in the sky and what roams the earth, and nowhere's safe.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy, man.
Yep. Well, we're running up against the old clock on the wall here. I hope everybody enjoyed the show tonight. If you like this type of video, let me know, because I've got a lot more stuff we can chat about out of the National Archives. And this is, .gov material, so it belongs to the people. It's public domain, but we can show it and talk about it. And
it's just an opinion, guys. It's not.
Yeah,
we're not trying to be authorities on anything. We're just having a chat like two normal civilians that don't go into all these things.
Opinions expressed here don't mean F all to anybody.
No, exactly. Exactly. And I don't take any of these things too seriously either.
We still haven't got a content warning, but we will. And again, from they'll put a Wikipedia paragraph in there saying, I don't consider Wikipedia a reliable source for anything. I don't use that for missing people stuff.
No, that's like saying Google's reliable.
Yeah. Well, and that's in our experience with all these things. Anything you look up on the internet, you can find vastly differing opinions, especially medical things and things like that. Oh no, this is wonderful. It's safe. No, you should never do that, whatever you do.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, that's like when I worked for a law firm. It was I clerked for a firm. It was medical malpractice, product liability, and personal injury. We had experts that we could call in, and of course the other side, they had experts, and you got two guys with alphabet soup after their names
arguing about the minutia.
You could find somebody with any opinion you came up with for the defense or the prosecution.
You could always find someone with a differing opinion on anything. There's not one conversation that you can have it in life that you won't get an opposing opinion on. You can't please everybody, number one, and that to try and do so is ridiculous. And number two, you can't push your beliefs on everybody, because everybody has to come to a realization on their own and find their own path to whatever they think is the valid truth of it.
Like Lee said, these are just our opinions. Opinions can change. I try to read and watch and listen and kind of form my own opinion, but rather than agree with me, I encourage everybody to do the same. Do your own research and see what opinion you can come up with. I've been wrong about stuff. I've changed my opinion on things before, but and again, it's just that we're not here to defend anybody's opinion or beat somebody up over their opinion. Bash it. Yeah, we're just here to state what some people believe. You may believe otherwise, and that's fine.
Yeah.
All right.
And what that's the thing, though. What do you call a primary source? I mean, there's 50 billion primary sources, and
or a reliable source, but they never name it.
It's like the other thing is as well. Oh, they're a UFO expert. No such thing, because nobody's interacted with a UFO to be able to study one, to be able to say they're a bloody expert.
UFOs, paranormal, anything like that. Anytime somebody's introduced to me as a paranormal expert, I go the other way.
Yeah, my mind just goes walking out the door.
And I've had people try to call me an expert on that. I'm not an expert. I've got more questions than I started with.
Yeah, exactly. There's non-stop questions like most of us. Average human beings that aren't privy to the actual knowledge, and the people that do hold the knowledge aren't about to share it with us plebs.
Yep.
So we can only use conjecture, and we can only hypothesize. That's all we're left with. And no matter how many people tell me, but I only do this, and I only listen to these people, and I only relay information from them people, it means nothing. It means nothing, because they could be full of crap, and they could be doing it to get everybody on board to believe.
And all your news sources, especially here in this country, they all have some agenda that they're pushing. You can watch the news from somewhere, like say Al Jazeera or something. They've got an agenda too, but it's the spin. There is people that they call spin doctors, that they'll take a story and then they'll decide what kind of way they want to spin it to generate certain opinions or.
And there's people that talk utter shite but sound convincing just to make money off of people.
Yeah.
And they sound convincing.
Yeah,
and
cult leaders
and to people that are so desperate,
multi-level marketing guys, they'll have you believe in everything.
Oh, mate, they'll sell you. They'll sell ice to the Eskimos.
Yeah.
You know, and the thing is, it's what all of these people play on is people's want to believe, right?
Yeah.
So if you're so desperate to want the knowledge of whether we're alone in the universe and all those fundamental questions, if you are drawn to someone's way of speaking and conversational skills and the way they relay information and stuff, and they say they've got this secret insider and all the rest of this crap, right, which a lot of them seem to do.
An unverifiable source.
Of every single person. You just need to be skeptical of everyone.
You can have any number of unidentified sources and just make stuff up.
Yeah. You can make it up yourself and say that it's come from a different source, you know. And this is the age-old problem of people with such a want to believe. They'll believe anything in the right context, you know. And a good storyteller will grab these people. I mean, look at how pathetic this Corey Good thing was. I always say about this.
Yeah.
And the other one, the Will Cock, you know, mate. You can't believe the BS that comes out of their mouths, and yet they got hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people
paying $333 a month,
$333 a year to have the insider information about absolute BS. You know, not one thing they've ever said has come to fruition. Not one thing they've ever said rings true in any way, shape, or form. And yet, you know, they get all these people to believe them. And pay them money for it as well on their secret website that only you can get the answers to. You can be one of the special insiders.
There's a sucker born every minute and two to take him. So there you go. The gullibility of people.
That's it. And then someone to drive the bus of a busload as well. I'm just one of them old time skeptical people. I've always been skeptical of people that are selling snake oil, basically. If it sounds too good to be true, that old adage.
It probably
sounds too good to be true. It probably is, and 99.9% of the time, that's the way forward. And you know it. It's just that the want to believe sometimes overrides your logic. You know what I mean? To be logical, it's like you want to give people the chance, but you also can't give them the chance to dupe you. And people that are interested in these subjects
poster on the X-Files.
Led.
I want to believe, but I don't trust any of the sources.
I'm exactly the same as you. I want to believe. I want to understand it. And like I said, there's a lot more to the abduction thing than everybody's a liar. You can't just blanket everybody with they're all liars. There's too many of them. You know, out of all those people that are saying they've been abducted and stuff, there's someone telling the truth. Like the Betty and Barney Hill thing, to me, always grabs me.
Yeah,
That's
Travis Walton.
We dealt with
I've heard him
Travis
speak.
Walton. Travis Walton hasn't changed one little bit, and he's not a glory hunter. And you can always tell the glory hunters. He doesn't even want to do these conferences, but he does it because he makes a bit of money and stuff on it, signing a couple of autographs and stuff, and hanging out with some people that are interested in what happened to him.
And same with Betty and Barney Hill. The last thing they wanted as an interracial couple.
Well, they weren't even advertising the fact. It was only because some reporter.
They didn't want any to become any more of a target than they already were.
Exactly.
So
I mean, back in them days, it was a dodgy thing, wasn't it, to be interracial couple?
Yeah, you know? it was not as popular.
Well, it just wasn't popular at all. They'd have been slandered as hell.
Yeah, and they were, even because of it. I've heard people try to explain that it was because they were an interracial couple that they were dragged out of their car and beaten. People said Barney's shoes looked like he'd been dragged on the pavement and stuff, but I don't think why would they just not have come forward and say we were attacked because we're an interracial couple? What did they have to gain by making up this whole story and undergoing hypnosis and things? Again,
like I said, I'm inclined to.
Same with Travis.
There's only a few people I believe.
Anything to gain.
There's only a few people I believe, and even though there's been a lot of controversy with what's his name that owned the brothels and stuff, or at least did the taxes for the brothels. What's his name?
I know who you're talking about, but I can't think of his name.
Yeah, you know, S4 and all that. And
Bob Lazar.
Bob Lazar, yeah. But I'm still intrigued as to why couldn't anybody find any of his records of anything. The guy can build rockets. You may not think he's a scientist, but he actually does scientific work. You know what I mean? So hang on a minute. If he was the janitor, why does he know the scientific work he knows? How can he build a rocket car?
That was their lie to discredit him. Oh, he's just a janitor. If you look at the technology and how far we've come, I mean, look at this phone I've got here. Look at that.
Yeah, well, I says that all the time, don't I? That's throwaway technology, mate.
It is. If we've got to this, if I can have this, imagine what the
everyday Joe's got computers and these phones that are our
getting
computers.
Close to a Star Trek communicator. I can flip it open.
That's exactly what a Star Trek communicator is. When I had the first Motorola that came out that folded, you remember the old Motorola's years ago in the 90s? I had one of those, and I said to my missus, "What does that remind you of?" And even she said Star Trek. I said,
"Well, yeah, you could even get that.
How can that program predict the future?" This is what you got to think to yourself. Roddenberry had contact. I think he was with Eisenhower on that meeting. I truly do.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me.
Anyway, that's because I could go on all night.
Yeah. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap
this
it
thing
up
down
for this episode. Again, thanks everybody for being here. For those of you watching the replay, hello to you in the future from us here.
Yeah, hi guys. Hi.
And had some internet issues tonight. Thanks, buttholes. That I will upload the video that we were watching so you can watch it in its entirety, separate from the live playback. But we'll see you again next week here on From Beyond. Lee, what do you got coming up?
Just tomorrow, mate. I've got my Radio 1FA.
Yeah, be sure and join
back to back original tracks. It's a full pint, mate, not half.
Be sure and join Lee over there tomorrow night. I'll pop in on camera if I can. I don't remember what video I've got coming out tomorrow. I think, let's see, what is tomorrow? The 21st. Another 10 bizarre national park disappearances over on Missing Persons and Mysteries. This is episode 24. So that just in that series, that's 240 missing people right there through this new video.
See, Garfy, I don't. It's not the fact I take him seriously. It's the fact when someone talks about an element 115 wasn't even around or even mentioned back in them days, and then all of a sudden nowadays it's a thing. Yeah. So yeah, I find the whole thing, again, if you want people not to have credit, you throw a load of crap at them and see how much sticks. And the more you keep throwing at them, something will stick. And as you've just put it, how can you believe him? Well, I'll tell you how I can believe him, mate, because the 115 thing. All the other stuff means nothing.
Yeah.
It means nothing because it's just crap that's thrown up in the air. And you can believe what you want, and I'll believe that. I'm not saying he's 100% truthful, not at all. What
he's one of those guys like him,
thing.
David Icke, John Todd, any of these whistleblowers. If a tenth of what they said is true,
exactly,
that's
that's what you got to look at is how much of a degree of that amount of stuff is talking true. You know, there could be loads of people that have talked utter shite, but amongst that, there's that 1 degree of truth in it. And it only needs that 1 degree to be truthful and to be real, to be a real phenomenon. The same as someone that's saying they're abducted and being able to convey to us at least one thing that no matter how you argue with it, it is true. You know?
Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this show. Thanks again, everybody. See you tomorrow night.
That's what I said. He did taxes for the brothel or whatever it was.
So 7 p.m. Eastern. Their time hadn't changed yet. And welcome to spring. That was another thing that Nicole and I were both mystified. The first day of any season is usually the 21st. This year it was the 19th. I don't know what the 20th, the 21st. That was our guess. But anyway, welcome to spring, everyone. And to see you 2 p.m. Eastern tomorrow on Missing Persons Mysteries, and then 7 p.m. Eastern on Lee, First Floor Audio.
See you later, guys.
All right. And Lee's going to play us out of here. Good night, everybody.